What is going on, everybody? So today we're going to be doing a little bit of work on the IS. I've got a timing belt I got to do, water pump, and valve cover gaskets. So it should be a fun time. First things first, let's get this bitch in the air. All right, now that that's done, we can start getting to work. Alright, so now that we got a lot of the stuff disassembled, I'm going to start draining fluids and get on with the rest of the job.
Welcome to Sketch City, boys. Woo. Clean.
So we're going to need to start out by getting this bitch ass belt off. Honestly, I don't like to fuck around, so I always just get new belts and say fuck it. So once you take off this cover, you're going to want to make sure that you check that your engine's at top dead center. If you can see the little hash marks, they should line up with the little bulges on the timing cover. Alright, so this next part is usually a little bit shitty on engines that haven't been worked on in a while. The reason is that right in here, there usually develops a little bit of a rust layer between the crank and the crank pulley. So instead of just trying to pull it off, I'm going to actually use puller for it. Now these are pretty cool. They basically just screw into the crank pulley, and then you have an actual pusher bolt that will push against the crankshaft, and that's going to pull the whole pulley off. So if you can't see from the other camera angle, this is how the puller is going to actually go on. Go! Alright, so now before I pull the tensioner off, I'm going to go ahead and get both of the cam pulleys loose so that I can start doing the cam seals. Alright, so now, instead of just taking out the tensioner, there's a little secret where you can actually use a pry bar on the water pump to retract it. Just go kind of slowly because you don't want to break anything. You see that's relieving the tension off of the timing belt. And then, once it's all the way down, you can go ahead and stick a pin in it and it'll stay. So now the belt is fully loosened. Got a good amount of slack. I can just go ahead and pull it off. Just like that, our old belt is off. So now we're going to go ahead and finish taking off cam pulleys. Just set these aside. Go! Yeah! Alright, so now you guys can kind of see why I'm doing the valve cover gaskets on these. That is just pretty gross right now, so I want to clean that all up and get all that gunk out of there. It's not bad. Looks pretty clean in there. Not a whole lot of gunk in there. It looks like it's actually been taken care of. I'm pretty glad about that. Goddamn. Alright, can we just talk about this bullshit? Whoever did this last used silicone instead of the actual gasket that it's supposed to have there. Can we not be doing that, please? These O-rings are usually not included with the water pump kits when you buy a water pump for these engines. I highly suggest that you do replace them when you are replacing the water pump, because reusing the old O-rings will usually leave them kind of hard and brittle and a little bit more prone to failure. So if you can, replace them. I'm applying a little bit of silicone lubricant on them, just to make sure that when I slide them into the bores, they don't get cut, they don't catch on anything, but they make a nice good seal on it. Now for the VVTi side, I'm actually just going to be using a screwdriver to get it out, and you want to make sure that you're only contacting the cam with the round part of the screwdriver. Now, for anything that's sealing oil, I like to use a little bit of engine assembly lube on the inside lip of the seal. Make sure not to get any on the outside, because if you do, then the seal may rotate in the bore and that'll completely just start leaking and ruin the seal. So here are the timing marks on the engine. There are going to be 2 up top on top of the cams, and then 1 down right above the crank pulley. You're going to want to make sure that these are all lined up when you put the belt on. And once you're sure that your engine is completely timed perfectly, pull the pin, give the belt some tension. Now this little plate has a little bit of a curve. You're going to want to make sure that the curve is pointing away from the belt. You're going to want to make sure that the outside of the ring is facing away from the belt. Before I install the valve covers, I'm going to apply a little bit of what we call fippage to the corners. Now this is basically Toyota's version of like an RTV silicone. So you're basically just going to want to apply it on the corners of both front cam caps. Alright, so now we're going to get the thermostat in. So if you can see the little jiggle valve in there, it's going to be right about there. The placement of that is really important. So this is going to be your hose end right here. You can see it's got this little protrusion on the side of it. You want to make sure that the jiggle valve lines up with that right about there. So that's going to make sure that's facing up so that bubbles can always bleed out of it. Alright, so now for coolant, I'm going to be using 50-50 of Toyota red coolant and just distilled water. And I hate how delicious coolant looks while still being so deadly. just gotta add oil and we'll be done. Is it just me, or does royal purple remind you guys of Ivan Ooze from the fucking Power Rangers movie? Always with the fucking drums when I'm trying to fucking do shit.
Call! Shut the fuck up!
Hey, you made it! So, if you're watching this part of the video right now, then you'll know that this is the part of the video where I shamelessly beg for all of your money. On a serious note though, my channel is currently at 158 subscribers, which is 157 more than I ever even thought that I would ever have. So for all of you guys that, you know, enjoyed my dumbass videos enough to smash that subscribe button, I thank you. And for all of you that haven't yet, pull your finger out of your ass. What the fuck are you doing? I guess that was a bit harsh. Consider it. I got a bunch more stuff I need to do to the RX-7, to the IS, and a couple side projects, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. See you guys later.